right, so hopefully you can hear me. We are going to be doing another Lego live stream. It has been a long time, so I thought that this would be the right set to do it with because, yes, we have the brand new massive Gringotts right here. And boy, oh boy, am I ready to put this thing together. This is going to be a massive set, and it's going to require a lot of different parts. We've got 4,803 pieces to this thing. They've definitely went out of their way to make this a big event set. You can see that not only do we have the bank itself, but we also have the entire like subterranean passageway. And of course I got this at the Lego store in early access, so it is really, really exciting. I believe maybe starting tomorrow it goes into general access for everybody who's not a Lego Insider member. And it's easy, of course, it's free to sign up for that. But man, oh man, this is going to be a legendary build, I can already tell. All right, well, let's go ahead and get right down to it. We'll look at the box just real quick, kind of turn it every which way here. You can see, of course, that the packaging is, you know, reminiscent of what we've seen before, but I like the mature look of this packaging here. On the side, we have some really nice shots of just the cast of the movie. And on the back, we get a little preview and a little diagram of the set. Get my light out of the way a little. Yeah, it's a little bit less aggressive. And then over here, we just have some alternate languages. All right, let's go ahead and cut it open. I think the easiest way will be for me to do this on the floor and then put the stuff on the table that I need to. I'll tell you right now that when you're going through the Kenwood Center, the Cincinnati Mall, whatever you want to call it, right down there, and you're hauling this thing in a bag, it was all I could do to get this back out to the car because this thing is massively, massively heavy. Okay, so looking inside the box, we have about 1 million different bags here. You get some of these to the side to have some semblance of organization. Oh gosh. Yeah, this is going to be a big one. And I've built some big ones on here before. All right, here's bag 2 and bag 3. I've never figured out the best way to do this. Those Lego lifestyles, like pictures that you see, are always hilarious, where it's like some hipster like has. Sorry about that. Can everybody still hear me? I have no idea what happened. I got kicked off there for a second. Let's see. Okay. There we go. All right, here's bag number 1. I'm telling you, I've never been so intimidated by the start of a set. It's insane. Let me just show you all so that you can get an idea of what I'm dealing with here. Yeah, it's kind of horrifying, really. Oh boy, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, maybe even a little too much. All right. I'm still literally just digging through here. Here's a whole bag of like minecart rails because, as anybody knows who's watched the movies or read the books, there's like a minecart system under Gringotts. I'm seeing pieces of the dragon. And finally, at the bottom of all the other bags, I found the real bag number 1, not just a supplemental bag. And of course, yeah. Well, it's probably not far off, you know. Oh, man. I'm sure it strikes terror into your heart for different reasons. For me, I'm just horrified of the process. So they include the booklets and these like little envelope thingies. I think we're all sort of familiar with these by now. I'm still waiting for Lego to implement the like the paper bag system that they keep like saying they're going to, but I've not seen that happen yet. Oh my gosh, here's all of our stickers. Oh, these are all, see that? They're all rainbowy. Ooh. Well, one good thing that I can go ahead and say, and this is something I've had to get Lego to replace a few times, is that pretty frequently lately, a lot of my sticker sheets are cut off center, and these are cut right on. So I am very glad about that. So that's something, at least. All right, so the stickers, honestly, are the most nerve-wracking thing for me. Anybody who's ever watched me do one of these knows how I obsess over that and try to not lose my mind trying to put those things on. Okay. And we have a bunch of other books too, so they're there. All right. Well, get my camera off to the side here. It's funny, I still have some of my Masters figures up from the last review I did. So it's almost like they're watching. Okay. Here's the giant base plate that it comes with. We'll get Mosquito out of the way here. Get my base plate over here to the side. Okie dokie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think these guys have room for too much judgment. I mean, just look at them. Evil as all get out. Evil. All right, so we have our booklet right here. And usually this has like some kind of little thing from the designers at the beginning, and I'm of course not gonna kill us all by reading it on screen here. Oh, this is good. And we have some stills from the movie. Nice. A little bit about designing it. Here's our, here they are. It's a very serious photo. And of course it shows that yes, you can connect this to the Diagon Alley sets. So you can have this be at like the end of the alley right there. So that's something I'm excited about. I have the Diagon Alley sets, but hilariously I never put them together yet. But I figured that putting this together is going to like motivate me, and it'll be, you know, that'll kind of be like what I do is then build the other buildings as a result. So I think that that'll be a fun way to do it. All right, get these out of the way. Okay, let's go ahead then. And it looks like we're building all the subterranean stuff first before we actually get to the bank itself. Now, this isn't an unusual thing for Lego, because a lot of the times what you'll see is that often they want you to build something that's a little less extensive or a little more isolated first. And I think it's almost to give you like a little bit of a sense of completion so that you're not giving up on the sometimes abundantly long process behind it. There we go. All right. These are some of our supports here. Smaller pieces and even smaller pieces. Oh, won't be the last time that happens. There we go. Wonderful. I keep telling myself that I'm going to establish like a different channel that's just for the Lego stuff or something like that. I don't know. I just don't want to go through the hassle of it. I think sometimes when you start doing too much of that, it just becomes confusing about where you're at and what platform you're on. And sometimes I feel like people have so many backup channels, it just gets ridiculous after a little bit. Okay. All right, so first things first, looks like we have some minifigs to put together. Okay. I'm looking for his head. There he is. Tiny little stubby legs here. These are the ones without articulation, like the shortest ones that they do. Okay, that looks cool. Okay. And he's got a sword. Yeah, there it is. Ooh, I like that because there's actually some translucent elements there. It's really nice. Okay, so there he is. I see Harry Potter's hair. Harry Potter's legs. I'm actually kind of surprised that the first minifigs that they have you build are from like later on from Deathly Hallows, because usually it feels like they're kind of more into the storytelling, to where it would seem like you would first build like Little Harry and Hagrid, but it's kind of funny that they're starting more like the end, you know. I definitely expected it to be like, oh, you build Harry and Hagrid like right at the very beginning, and it's supposed to simulate like their little adventure that they have going to Gringotts, but I guess that'll come a little bit later. Here we go. There's older, angstier Harry right there. So angsty. All right. Let's start building. We're done, look. Recently, I kind of explored to see all the new things that LEGO Insiders as a program offers. And it's pretty interesting because you have the ability to go through and scan the booklets of any of the sets you bought in like the last 2 or 3 years. And you can earn some points from those sets. And so I think that's handy. They don't give you a whole lot of points, but enough to where I think that it would be, it could come through in a pinch, you know, if you needed some more points to get a discount at the Lego store or something like that. So it's something I'm glad that they're doing, more free stuff, or the potential to get free stuff, I guess. Okay. Sort through. There it is. There's so many Lego sets that I need to get caught up on that I'm not even really sure it's feasible for me to catch up on them. Like there's the Rivendell set, you know, for Lord of the Rings, and that's $500. So not only is it maybe not feasible in terms of time, but also cost. I would have a real hard time swinging that one. That would just, I don't know, to me that's really pushing like what even an adult could do. I think that would be a really tough thing for pretty much anybody to swing. Well, maybe not anybody. I do think LEGO has been experimenting this past year with just how far they can push the adult collector market. And I don't mean that in a negative way necessarily, but as a business, I think that they're experimenting. They're seeing just how much people can spend, will spend, have to spend even. And I think it's interesting because you look at like COVID, and when all that was happening. And that was, you know, some of the very strongest sales of Lego as a brand. And it's no secret, you know, why that would be. It's because people were stuck. So you had people suddenly getting into hobbies that maybe they wouldn't have before. And I think that, you know, Lego suddenly became even more interested in the adult market after COVID. But it's really interesting because you can almost tell that the economy isn't really, you know, it's kind of falling short. So they developed all this product during COVID, and now I'm not sure that people can afford it, which is interesting, I guess because of stimulus and things like that, that people could, or it felt like anyway, that things were more affordable at that time, even in the midst of like some kind of crisis. So I don't know what that says economically exactly, but it's interesting. It's something to think about, just in terms of a product. Of course, these early stages of a build, you know, they're always kind of, it's a little slow going when you're first, you know, building like supports for stuff. Nobody's ever going to say that it's the most exciting part of a build because it's on these, you know, base kind of building stages where you are just establishing the framework. And it's hard to even tell necessarily what you're building right at the beginning. So I think it's important that they show you like the little diagram at the front of sections to be like, hey, this is what this part's going to look like. Because I think just being able to visualize something, I think that can be important and kind of motivating you to keep going and kind of aiming for, show you what you're aiming for, I guess, maybe. All right. I got those 3 pieces. Oh, there we go. Oh, and we're already into stickering. That's right. Believe it or not, in these early days, it is already asking me to sticker something. So, welcome to my greatest joy and also my greatest nightmare. All these wild colors that you know aren't going to be visible anymore once you build the thing. Of course, I'm thankful for the wild colors because you can tell more about what you're doing to start with. Yep, I'm goofing up. There we go. Okay, so it wants me to take one of these, and I better get my stickers back out. Didn't think I'd need them for a while, but hardy har har, joke's on me. Let's see what we need. Okay, sticker number 3. You know, that's a good question about what set would be a good one, you know, that they've not done yet. Because they're really getting to a point to where most things, like, they're covering. And the crazy part is what I would have told you 2 or 3 months ago before it became abundantly clear through leaks that this was definitely going to be a thing, is I just would have said Gringotts. I think most people would have. And now that Gringotts is here, I have to kind of like step back and be like, okay, now what? Because this one was the big thing on so many people's like wish lists, and you know, this was what everybody had in mind. But I don't know. There might be some more that they could do with Goblet of Fire. There's maybe a few scenes that they could either remake from sets that already exist or do a little bit more with some of the Triwizard Cup challenges. And it's amazing the rate at which they remake Harry Potter sets now. It's almost kind of troubling, really, because I'm worried now that I'm going to buy a set, and then, you know, I'm kind of delayed on building things, so I worry that I'll buy it and it'll be outdated before I can even build it, or they'll have a new one. But I'll tell you one thing that they are doing, which makes me feel a little bit better about that, is it seems like when they remake some of these sets, that they don't necessarily make them better sometimes. Sometimes they're just different. Like recently, they did a new version of the Weasley joke store that come in the Diagon Alley set. But that's by no means meant to replace the Diagon Alley version, which is infinitely nicer and better. It's just kind of a smaller scale kids version of it. So something like that, I mean, it looks neat, but clearly it wasn't aimed at all at collectors. It was just strictly, you know, hey, this is for kids who wanted this set. So I do think they're having to be more creative lately. I'll tell you what they might end up doing, and I could see this pretty easily, is starting to do sets about Hogwarts Legacy, the video game, because there's so many people playing that, my wife included, that I could see that being like a wellspring of source material, because they are getting to a point where it's getting harder and harder to come up with something that they haven't done and actually done well. Since the last time I was streaming, they came out with the giant Hogwarts Express train that was like in a large scale. But it was so expensive and didn't live up to a lot of people's expectations. So I definitely think they have to be careful, because to me that set probably isn't going to stick around long. It may actually, you never know, it may end up being a valuable set someday because it wasn't received well. And unlike a Hogwarts Castle or something like that, I think that it's not going to be in circulation very long, because I don't think the sales will be there for it. I'll tell you, I would really like it on sale. So maybe when they're clearancing those puppies out, I'll grab one then. But you see, unfortunately, I think that's what a lot of people have said about it. And, you know, it's definitely to that set's detriment. I don't think that's the desired effect you want to have. Whereas this, you know, every Harry Potter fan was wanting this, as far as I can tell. And we're wanting it right away, because it included a gift with purchase. It was an extra mine vault that goes under this, and I think you can just connect it. So I was sure to grab it from the Lego store proper, just as quick as I could. If the business that Lego store was doing is any indication, then Lego is doing well. There's no reason to be concerned about Lego. They're fine. I guess, you know, it was Labor Day weekend, so there was a tremendous amount of people out, I guess. But even then, it was shoulder to shoulder in that place. It was crazy. And I had to reserve this set that morning, and if I hadn't of it would have been gone by the evening. So as crazy as that is. I think Lego should never underestimate gifts with purchase and their ability to create FOMO. because it certainly works with me. If there's a really impressive gift with purchase, then I feel like that it's extremely important that I get the set just as soon as possible so they don't run out of that set. And I mean, I think that's an incredible strategy that they use. I think that can make sets or break sets, because there's been so many sets that I've said to myself, you know, well, I really wanted to get this set and that set, but because of this gift with purchase, I had better go ahead and buy this one instead, or that one instead. So yeah, I do think that's part of it. Oop, I goofed up on that one. I'll be curious to see how extensive, once I have it built up and everything, the actual minecart subterranean section of Gringotts even is. Because I'm not sure if that'll be necessarily a very large portion of it or not. You know, they always have like a display version of the model at the Lego store, like up front, so you can see it, you know, and kind of get an idea of things. But I'll be honest, I'm a weirdo, so I never really look too closely at those, because from my initial impressions when they first reveal a set, that's kind of all I need to know about whether or not, you know, I'm interested. And then after that, I just kind of want to go my own way with it. I don't want to study it forever and ever, because I feel like that kind of spoils it to some degree. I want it to feel fresh to me as I build it and kind of discover it as I build it, which is something anybody who's watched one of these live streams before knows that I always talk about, that I want to stay kind of surprised by the build as I go. It's but not everybody's like that. I mean, a lot of people, it doesn't matter to them at all. Maybe I'm like that because these are so expensive. Maybe I'm trying to like savor every bit of possible enjoyment I can to justify the cost. As an adult fan of Lego, there is a real struggle to balance, I think, financially the hobby, because it is unbelievably expensive. So for me, I always have to be careful, because I know that I'm not going to be able to get every set. And the ones that I do, usually I have to kind of financially prepare for that, you know, whether that's selling something or, you know, something like that maybe I'm not so interested in anymore. But I find that these are, you know, I don't have a lot of regret with Lego sets, you know, because I feel like I do quite a bit of research beforehand to know what kind of sets that I like. And I feel like it's very few times have I looked at something I built and been like, oh, I can't believe I bought this. I'll tell you what gets me is when I stray from like the core brands and the core themes that I like, and I end up buying sets that are based on like movie hype or something. So, you know, new release movie is coming out, and, I get a set, and then realize pretty quickly that I didn't really plan on completing that theme. It doesn't really have a place on my shelf. I did that, unfortunately, with the, which were great sets, by the way. I'm not knocking the sets at all. With Avatar. I got excited about The Way of Water coming out, and that excitement led me to purchase some of those sets and build one or two of them, and then be like, you know what? Not sure if this was the best plan for me. Didn't really end up having a place to put them, so that led to me having some buyer's remorse and getting rid of some of those sets already. So you have to know yourself. I think part of me knew that, though, when I got those sets. I think it was like, yep, this is hype. These are hype buys. I've already sworn off of like a lot of the superhero sets because of that, because a lot of those are designed to be hype buys. Even something that I'm like really convinced that I'm just going to definitely be into building. I bought all of the Eternals sets because I was a huge defender of that movie and really enjoyed it. Thought it was great, much better than a lot of the really lacking stuff we would get from Marvel in the last little bit. But unfortunately, even that, it sat there for like 2 years and I never built them. And finally, had to tell myself, hey, it's all right just to get rid of these. So that was a stupid decision on my part, but you live and you learn. That was probably the last vestige of Marvel, you know, hype machine, like MCU Lego buying that I'll probably ever do. So it's kind of from a bygone era, I guess, for me and my buying habits. Still really happy about getting the Daily Bugle, though. Now that doesn't feel like an impulse buy, like hype grab set. That feels definitive. And hopefully is the kind of set that Lego will sell for years and years because it's just such a definitive Spider-Man set. There's very few things wrong with that set. It's just one of those things. It's built and designed to be timeless. And I think you can always tell when they're designing something that's supposed to be like a cash-in, or if they're designing something that's going to be for years and years and years. This will be the standard. More of those fruity colors that are getting covered up there. I'm going to say that color is snot, Lego snot. Yeah, okay. First I wasn't sure what they wanted me to do. Okay. This kind of reminds me of one of the old like Egyptian explorer like temple pyramid sets that they've done, that they used to do. It always cracks me up when Lego, I have no idea how they design the instructions the way they do. They had an entire page just to show putting that one piece on there, which is like, why? Usually it's like 4 or 5 different things I feel like that I'm having to do. Makes no sense. Here we have a hairbrush, a pink hairbrush. So, as we know, it's the most important element of Gringotts. Like what? You know, there's always little Easter egg things that are put into these sets lately, especially where there's like random things that are inside of like the base. And maybe that's what this is. Or maybe there's something about a hairbrush that I have forgotten from the movies and the books. You never know. I might have. Okay. All right, moving on. Here's where we start really building out some of this stuff that leads to nowhere because it's so early days in this. See, the bottom of this is already starting to look wild. Okay, that's the road to nowhere right now. It's beautiful. Seems kind of random, some of these pieces. It's like I'm building a mosaic. What are them, mosaics? Oh, yeah, you. Okay. Once again, more pieces leading to nowhere right now. It's funny to see this stuff out of context. It just seems like the most random things when you're building the bottoms of these Lego sets. Okay. I'm very impressed by the way that Gringotts is designed from everything I've seen, because the whole minecart section, it almost is like spiraling down, almost like Gringotts is the top tier of a wedding cake, and everything below it is some kind of really fancy support. It really does kind of have a wedding cake feel to it, which is a funny thing. I've never really said that about one of the sets, or never really noticed that about one of these sets. So it almost feels like a little bit of a different design theory. But I think it's important to note that this whole subterranean section that we're building will be able to just be disconnected completely. And so I think that's going to be interesting, because you'll be able to kind of set this over to the side and then have Gringotts be its own thing. And of course, that's the only way you could make Diagon Alley work. So in a way, this is, oh look, it's kryptonite. See, look, there it is. Certainly what it looks like. But like for me, I know that my own taste is going to be to take this and probably like make it its own set. You know, this, of course I'll have it hooked up, you know, when I first build it and things, and before I have the rest of Diagon Alley built. But after I get Diagon Alley built, I think that, you know, it's going to kind of take its place and be disconnected from this, the actual bank itself. So for me, this is a 2-in-1 type of build situation, because for me, for my uses for the set, that's going to be what makes the most sense. So you're going to have like minecart adventure. I almost said Minecraft adventure. You have like minecart adventure here, and then, you know, its own thing elsewhere. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. That's the plan I'm kind of hatching right now. But we'll see. This is a long process, and you know, after the next 6 years it's going to take me to build this, I hope it's not 6 years. I'll be here a long time. After a while, you start noticing that my hand is just bones. You know, it's like it's already the same color pretty much. hope everybody's had a great Labor Day. Hope it didn't go like mine did, because it felt like just one thing after another was getting in my way this Labor Day. It was still a good day, but my sincerest ambition was to mow today. That was what I wanted to accomplish. And just problem after problem after problem with my mower. It's probably a battery issue. And it finally ended with me getting like an eighth of my land mowed. So, hey, Liam. And, you know, then I just had to, then it just quit finally. So, talk about aggravation. But it's all right. It's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. And hopefully a day where I'll actually get the grass mowed. All right. There we go. Looking good. I know, Kayla, that you'd mentioned spooky season coming through. I'm excited. I'm already like freaking out and sending Megan like pictures of things and being like, hey, look at this decoration. Look at this. Look at this. Like a kid. Ooh. Well, at least it was just one. I'll tell you, I got stung at after school the other day walking into the building. And oh my gosh, it was the first time I'd been stung in years. I'm not even 100% sure what stung me. I just knew something was on my hand as I tried to swat it away after I felt all that pain. And it was, whatever it was extremely painful. Oh yeah, absolutely. This is, you know, it's one of those like mega sets. It's one of those, you know, hyped up kind of event sets, I guess is what I would call it. So this is one of those. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of Lego's better selling large sets this year. Which apparently Harry Potter is huge for them. And that's why they are just continually releasing more new sets. It seems like, I might be mistaken on this, seems like in some public sales rankings that they released, that maybe that they said that Harry Potter was like their third best-selling theme or something. I mean, truthfully, I'm not really sure how I get so like caught up in the Harry Potter Lego stuff, but there is just something about it. It feels just like the perfect fit for Lego. It feels like the kind of thing, like I've always loved the medieval castles and mystical kind of stuff, so. Oh yeah, that Concorde. You know, I was really impressed by that because honestly, viewed from any sort of distance, I'm not sure I could tell that was Lego. And that's crazy. Like, you know, it just looks like a really detailed plane. I'll tell you one theme that keeps pumping out sets, even when I think like they're getting ready to kind of call it quits or to slow down a little. And that's the international theme that they do, Monkey Kid. It just keeps going. Recently, we had listings leak out for like their next stuff. And yet again, they're going to be these massive, you know, locales and big sets. And that's a theme that you actually really do get your money's worth too. So it's hard for me to keep up with it though. and to find display space for my Monkey Kid stuff. But my friend Adam keeps encouraging me to build a Lego city, to finally just bite the bullet and say, you know what, everything's just going to live on the same table with roads connecting it and all of that, which is great, but I almost fear it, you know? Like, it seems like a pretty big commitment to maintain something like that, and also a large commitment of like one designated space. And I'm not sure if I have the space for it or not. Although I do have a table that I'm not using for anything in particular, so maybe I might see how close to the sun I can fly on that particular set. On the table, I mean, of sets. Okay, have we reached the end of bag 1? Yes, we have. All right, so bag 1 in the books. All right, let's see what awaits us in bags 2. So, here they are. Didn't have very many extra pieces there, so. Well, you know, I don't know. There's that new HBO Max series that you mentioned there, Kayla. And I'm certainly very open to giving it a chance. I don't feel any kind of, you know, negative feelings towards it. A little bit of trepidation, probably, because I do think the movies were done so well. It would be one thing if there were real deficits with the movies that a lot of people were like, you know, oh man, and they left this out, and I can't believe they left this part out. But there's not a whole lot of that kind of major outcry, because they were very careful with, say, like the Deathly Hallows, to really, you know, split that up and take their time with it. However, there are things that definitely could be improved upon when it comes to adaptation. So I think it's an exciting opportunity, and when you look and you think about how long it's been, because it truly has been a very long time, because, I mean, think about it. I was just a kid, and you were too, when the first Harry Potter movie came out. That was in 2001? 2001. And to think, you know? Yeah, exactly. To think that it's been over 20 years now, I mean, maybe it really is time to start looking towards the next version. And then you've got companies, like partner companies like Lego. And you know for sure what they're saying and what they're telling them. They're probably letting Warner Brothers know that they're completely starved for content, and that they're running out of things that they can reasonably do. I think that's very likely one of the reasons why this is probably a thing. I'll tell you what I do fear, is I fear the wrong mindset from the people behind whatever this ends up materializing to be. I fear like them sitting down and being like, how can we make this an alternative Harry Potter concept? And then really veer like as far as they can. I also kind of worry about how politicized some things have become, particularly with the opinions about J.K. Rowling and things. I almost feel like there's going to be a weird push to where Warner Brothers will feel like they have to really change some things, and I'll just let you all read between the lines on what I mean here. But I really feel like that there's going to probably be things put into it that probably, you know, are new things, new creations or whatever, to make sure that they're that they're signaling to the right groups or that they have the right. It's hard to get into on a channel about toys and Lego, but still, I just worry. I worry about some changes that may be made in the name of being like, see, we're not like that J.K. Rowling woman. She's awful, you know. And it's always, you know, I think you have to make the decision as a consumer. If you think that, you know, a creator or an artist, if you think they're despicable, you know. Oh, so really, they are changing some of that, because I've always kind of, I've always been aware of some of the terms that are used. I remember I was reading one of Fleming's Bond novels one time. It might have been like, you know, a printing from just a year or two after the original publication of that book. Can't even remember which story it was. And there was an absolutely wild term used to describe a female of color. I'll put it like that. And I was like, whoa. But I'm not, you'll never find me being the person that wants them to go back and alter things to make them more palatable or more politically correct. I feel like that all of these things should just be products of their time. And if you don't have context, then then everything can be offensive, you know. And there's a lot of things in these old books and things that are offensive and should be offensive to anyone, you know, with an ounce of moral character. But at the same time, context will tell you, okay, well, this was a different time. And since then, we've come a long way as a society. So it's, you know, we got to move on. But it's like that old adage: if you try to act like it never happened, then you'll just forget it and possibly be doomed to repeat it just over and over. So I don't feel like that's the solution. You know, I don't know. Posthumous cancellation is always really silly. Mostly. Exactly. Can't do a thing about it. Learn from it, move on. I feel like this color, I'm not even sure what you call it in Lego, is in so much of Rivendell. It's a really lovely shade of green. I would say Rivendell would be an excellent set to get at a time when they were doing like double VIP points or something, because I think you could reasonably, I think you might be able to score, what, $50, you know, worth of VIP points or something from that if it was a double event. And yeah, it's 500, but that would go a long way in helping. I mean, you know, it would. You may have to pinch a few pennies, but it's funny. I've always kind of been like, you know, I pretty much have a complete Lego Lord of the Rings collection. I don't think there's hardly anything I'm missing, actually. So it's pretty much everything from the old original theme from, what, 2010 or something. But every time I've ever thought, okay, well, I have a lot of this stuff in storage and I don't really even have it on display, so maybe it's time to sell it or get rid of it. I always stop myself from doing it. Because number one, I just sincerely loved that theme. And the Hobbit stuff, too. I don't want to take anything away from the Hobbit. I'm actually a defender of those 3 Hobbit movies. No, there didn't need to be 3 Hobbit movies, but if there has to be, you could do a heck of a lot worse than what we got. Anyway, I do feel like Rivendell would be a fun thing to get to add to my collection, and it would be such a shame for me not to get it too, because I pretty much have everything else, so why not get something nice to cap it off? Of course, rumors persist that we're going to see more Lord of the Rings, and I really hope that they continue focusing on things that we haven't got very good renditions of, and not just try to constantly remake and redo and repurpose. I really hope that the focus is trying to do some new things, because there's a lot of people like me who got into this around that time who had plenty of those old sets, and a lot of which have aged very well. So I don't think that it's a case where there's necessarily a great need to replace all of that stuff. And of course, there's always the off chance that it might not even be as good. Oh yeah, Snake Mountain. Sorry, I didn't see your comment there. Yeah, man, how much fun, right? This thing. Oh boy, I've just had a blast with it. And it's funny because I keep, building these displays off of it with different sets of figures and thinking, yeah, I can't take that down. I worked really hard on this display and I'm just going to leave it like that for a while. And nope, I take all the figures off and then do something else with it. So it's the kind of thing that, begs me to keep tinkering with it and keep trying different things. And maybe the hardest thing for me is that the interior is so cool and the exterior is so cool that I have a really hard time, keeping it just in one. I can't hardly fathom not using one or the other. So it's a constant back and forth between turning it one way and turning it the other. Then it's going to be really interesting when the playset Eternia comes in, in months from now. What, January or something? I'm still trying to wrap my head around figuring out, storage or display storage, or what am I saying? A display area, for that behemoth. I measured it out, and I think the table I'm currently working on would hold it. But at the same time, I don't know then where that would leave me with having like an area for some of my reviews and Lego stuff. So I don't know. I don't know yet. I'll probably wait to the very last moment to clear out space. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have a feeling that I'll be clearing out some shelves of stuff because, the last thing I think our families want us to do, or we really need to do, is turn our hobbies into serious hoarding addictions. And I do think it's healthy to sell some things, because I think once you do it a little bit, then it becomes a little easier to do. It's not so dramatic. I think it's a healthy exercise to say, okay, this is all right, that this is gone. Because in the end, stuff is stuff. You get desperate enough, you can always rebuy something, you can find it on eBay or whatever. But not like people. People are irreplaceable. Stuff, replaceable. feel like I'm building, you know, the caverns of Goblin Town from The Hobbit. I'm gonna find myself breaking into down in Goblin Town here in a minute. Don't worry, I won't really. Just kidding. Down in Goblin Town. All right. These almost look like little growths of moss or something that would be down in the bottoms of these old caverns. It's quite funny. I don't know if... You see, you wouldn't like what I would have to tell Anthony about that, though. Because I would be like, oh, Anthony, you know, these are cards. They don't take up space. You can just put them in, you know, binders, and you can have thousands of them. And unlike my hobby, the action figures, which requires all this space. See, for me, it would be enabling and justification. Just a few of the tricks that I keep on hand to help me feel better about myself. Yeah. Well, you know, just like anything else, boxes. You know, there can be boxes and boxes of it. That adds up just like anything else. I mean, there's certainly, you know, if you find the right buyer, there's certainly money to be made for that. So I guess it's always an ace that Anthony has up his sleeve, you know, if you really need some cash, you can always get it. It's always good to keep a couple of rare items if you need some money, or you need something, emergency comes up or something, you can cash in. A little investment, you know, rather than actually investing in the stock market. Don't you judge me, life. I do what I want. Okay. There it is. Okay. It's funny, there's a lot of red down here. I'm not even sure if that's just, you know, part of the support beams of the thing, and it won't even be something you see, but I'm noticing a lot of red and burgundy. Maybe it's just them just picking some random color that they can use here to differentiate one spot from another. I did notice that we took a section here and completely sealed it up and covered it, and that was the one with the little green kryptonite looking gems. So it's interesting that it's there. I'm not sure if there would ever be any practical way to access it later on, but but as you'll find with these kinds of sets, these cavernous expanses that are below, it does seem like that they just put things there just for fun. There isn't really a lot of rhyme or reason. Sometimes they're just little caveats. Little alcoves dedicated to cool stuff. Yeah, there you go. It's crossover. I mean, it's all Warner Brothers, so it's not like there'd even be a legal problem with it. Superman could show up. Kind of hilarious to think about that. Maybe J.K. Rowling would have to sign off on such a thing, but legally, I couldn't imagine that there would be much, you know, that really would limit them from just like making a movie where Superman and Harry Potter were like best friends. They team up. They go on a wild adventure together. You know, then again, I suppose Superman, one of his only weaknesses aside from kryptonite is magic. So I think Superman would find himself in great distress in the world of Harry Potter. He would be just about as vulnerable as anyone else in that world. To magic, that is. It might actually be a fun what-if story. You know, there's the classic what-if story about Superman landing in Soviet Russia. Superman, Red Sun, and what would have happened if Superman had been raised a communist. Maybe the same thing you can do about him landing around Hogwarts and being taken in to become a wizarding superhero. Yeah. You think he's going to be like super heroic, but it turns out he's just like Gilderoy Lockhart. Oh, good evening, class. I absolutely love Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart. That was one of my favorite castings in all the Harry Potter movies. Such a great experience as a kid to go and see those movies with my brother. That was an awesome thing. Especially like, you know, around the time of Chamber of Secrets, that's when I was really into it. That's when it was really fun. I think even though maybe Chamber of Secrets, you know, probably isn't the best Harry Potter movie, I still love it. And a lot of it has to do with nostalgia. It's just one of those things, if you grow up with something like that, it kind of leaves an indelible mark. Kind of like all those people that say that, say like Hook is a horrible movie. Like I could never feel that way because of growing up with it. And maybe possibly being the first movie I ever saw in a theater, so. Yeah, almost scooped up. Oh yeah, I think it's a classic myself, but recently here on the channel I reviewed that Steven Spielberg figure, which I was, you know, just shocked that they even made. And what I really wanted to do with that figure is break out my old Hook figures, like from when I was a kid, and have him direct scenes with those figures, even though he's like way too small for those figures. That's what I really wanted to do. It's starting to be something. It looks like one of those like mishmash builds that when you're a kid and you're just trying to find whatever pieces you can. Yeah, bonus footage. And you end up like building a spaceship like out of like rainbow kind of pieces. You have like a little bit of gray in one part, a little bit of red in another part. That's what this looks like right now. Like, Ah, so the responsibility falls to you here. Yeah, it's almost the season for Megan and I to start piecing together some of the materials and things that we're going to use and making final decisions about what exactly we're going to do is always, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know what we're going to do. Pretty sure. But we'll see. I have the Josie and the Pussycats theme song stuck in my head. Why? I couldn't even tell you all the lyrics to that song. I can tell you like the main ones, but I have no idea what they're saying in some parts. This is interesting. In this part, you actually turn it over and use the anti-studs beneath. There we go. Then you can turn it over. Okay. Few more patches of moss, I think, is what they're getting at here. Oop. Throwing pieces where they don't belong. Okay. Oh, I think I see our first water piece here. Of course, if you look in the backgrounds of the movie and things, you can see that there's waterfalls and different things happening. So I'm sure this will feed into that somehow or another. Okay. I have to turn it this way. I remember seeing in the pictures of the set that yes, there is a waterfall that you're building out of those trans blue pieces. It's one thing I always like doing is building Lego water. So that's always a real treat for me. It's something simple, but I really love it. Okay. So we're start kind of building out this wall here, which is interesting. Oh, I see now. I didn't even realize it, but they, it's funny, I should have realized it. This, I think, is actually laying down right now, and eventually I'll turn it up to be the actual like base of the thing, the base of Gringotts. So at least I think that that's what's going on. Pretty sure. But you never know. I've been known to be wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because here we have a strand of water, like a little, yeah, that's going to be part of the waterfall, I think. As a matter of fact, now looking at it, I think that what's going to happen is maybe this is being built in half sections. I don't know. We'll see. It's just the joy of discovery. It's the joy of the process. It's more fun not to know. A little bit of spontaneity in the building process. Oh, yep, more water. Oh, even more water pieces. I don't know if I'm easily excitable or what, but these just make me happy. These trans blue water pieces. Just to do something as simple as representing water. Just really thrilling. I love the way that looks with the rocks, especially when this thing gets turned the right way. It's just going to be an incredible sight. Now I'm understanding why I was building all those different levels so that these can hook in just the right way. I'm also seeing now that that standard light blue, that baby blue, is actually getting covered with the trans blue pieces. And then, you know, that is a great effect. Kind of gives it a little bit more color, a little bit more backing. Kind of almost reminds me of some of the stages in the Sega Genesis Jurassic Park game, because there was a lot of waterfalls in that, and off of like rock facings and things. And if you've ever played that game, if you're like me, that was one of my big games I played when I was a kid. You'll very much know the aesthetic I'm talking about. Okay, looking good. Well, it's not looking like much, but at least the water looks good. This is funny. This is typically something you'd see at the top of a castle spire for like a Hogwarts, or at least a gray roof Hogwarts. Certainly not the kind of thing you would expect to see in caves. But I'm always glad to see something purposed for maybe something you wouldn't expect. Keeps it interesting. All right, so I'm going to turn it this way. And build it out. There we go. Fit. Don't do it. I am curious if building this, and then of course, you know, Gringotts itself will be its own building, and this is just going to kind of be a base for it. Will that be really demotivating when you finally get to Gringotts and it's like starting on a completely new build? I think in some ways it might be, but I think in other ways you'll feel like you've accomplished kind of like an independent set already by the time you get there. I do not think that they'll have me like switching back and forth between the two main builds. I think that would be bizarre. I've never seen it done like that, but you never know. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there will be some switching. I think for me, the key with Lego is fantasy, because I went so hard on getting all the Lord of the Rings sets. And Harry Potter, I still spend more money on Lego Harry Potter than I do any other theme. Like, that's where it's at for me. So, that's no coincidence, because it's definitely easy to tell that it's the fantasy themes, to me, that make the most sense with Lego. I think there's a simple explanation, and that's just castle, Lego castle, as a classic theme. And, you know, of course, the genre you're going to see that expressed in is fantasy. And I really think that, really, at the end of the day, if Lego wants to know why they and Warner Brothers are making a fortune off of Lego Harry Potter sets 20 years after the movies started, then I think the reason isn't even that much of a mystery. I think that really, in the end, it's because of, at the center of Harry Potter is a fantasy castle. You know, it's funny, we think of Hogwarts as, you know, like this fantastical school, and it is. But at the end of the day, like, boiled down to I think the most basic movie vernacular, fantasy vernacular, it's a castle. It's a magic castle. So to me, that tells the tale. If you have a castle at the center of your media, then perhaps look into Lego. And it's funny, because with me, what I want to do is, of course, I'm wanting to, you know, build all these new iterations of Hogwarts, and they're always finding new form factors to, like, just make a Hogwarts castle. Recently, they've shown off a new miniaturized version of Hogwarts, and it looks great. And then there was, of course, the playset version of Hogwarts, which they just completed. You know, now you can buy all of the sets that make up the Hogwarts playset system, which I have about half of. But for me, what it does mentally for me, I think, is it triggers, like, okay, I want to build the castle, and then I want to grow the world out from it. So that's a perfect combination when you think about it. Because it's like an incremental process. You build like a base or home base of operations with Hogwarts. Then there's the world outside of Hogwarts, and I think that that's where a lot of the magic of the brand is coming from when it comes to sales for Lego. I think that's what's motivating a lot of purchases. And it's certainly what motivates mine. See, we're a month from today, I think, or a month from a few days ago. I guess they're going to launch the Viking Village, which is a very exciting set, and is kind of an expansion of, I think, the Lion King's castle. Not Lion King as in the Disney property, but you get my drift. And to me, that set is also a must-buy. think the key with me and Lego is that I have to be careful because I constantly want to say things like, you know, oh, I'm going to build this one when the time is right, or when this happens, or when that happens. And I think that might be a very poor way of doing it. Because I found that if I don't just go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to build this set, then it may not happen. It may just set. And that's not how I want to experience Lego with a bunch of boxes of unassembled products. Okay. That was interesting. It's like a sandwich. It's like a rotten sandwich. There's some lettuce on there. The bread is now black. Okay. Oh, I see we have a bat we're hanging up. Okay. Right, and interestingly enough, this whole assembly sets right here. Yeah, okay. Not much left of this bag. Okay. I think these are the last few from this bag. Okay. So that does it for bag number 2. Once again, not very many leftover pieces. Yep, not many at all. Yeah, I can tell that this whole thing is eventually going to stand up. But for now, not just yet. I imagine it's much easier to build laying down like this. Okay, bag number 3. Here we go. I do not know if there's an additional bag number 3. May be unpleasantly surprised that there's another one somewhere. But I'm kind of looking around and I don't see one, but if I'm missing a piece here in a minute, I'll know what happened. Let's see. Oh. Oh. Smaller pieces. And looks like some more watery pieces. Okie dokie. Let's get to work. So I think this will kind of go to the side for a second. And time to go again. It's funny to think of Legos as just big puzzles that you put together. Like, I know that there's such a thing as 3D puzzles. And those have always looked really cool. But Lego has to be the most successful, when you really think about it, 3D puzzle ever. Of course, I know that it's much more than a puzzle, because unlike a puzzle, it can go together in multiple ways, but still. I found that the easiest thing to do when you pour like bags out is not to mix the little contents of the small bags with the large bag. Just try to leave them in their own separate piles. It'll make your life a lot easier, because usually they've kind of pre-sorted some things for you. Yeah, I don't typically sit down and just decide to complete a puzzle. It's just never been my thing. Like, I guess if I were bored or something like that, maybe I could see it as being a fun distraction or something, but I never like actively seek out a puzzle. But I know there's plenty of people that do. Now, when I was a kid, I really did. I remember we would complete puzzles and we would like glue them to cardboard. I guess it's a really big deal, right? When you're You're so proud of a puzzle, you like glued it to a piece of cardboard. I mean, that's... So needless to say, puzzles were finite experiences for us. Once it was done, it was done. Because chances are they were glued together. I know for sure that Mom did that for me for a Spider-Man puzzle. I think a Batman Returns puzzle too. Oh, I did this the wrong way. Chaos theory. Just like Malcolm talked about. There we go. That's a good question. There's always going to be weird things that I would like a set of that probably not many other people would. There's probably a lot of TV shows that I would love to have representations of, like, the house. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that would be an awesome one. And, like, you know, as crazy as it sounds, like something like a Family Matters house with Urkel and the whole Winslow family, like that would be something that I would see as incredible. Or like the Full House. I mean, these are like sitcom things I think I would really like. Here's a fun one too. I'm a big fan of the Phantom, like the comic book hero that Billy Zane played in the 90s movie. And I would really absolutely love a skull cave, you know, his like lair that he stays in. But I think it would be a real, I think that would be a real iffy one to ever get. It would have to be like a Lego Ideas submission. And then I don't think most people would be interested enough to support it. So I would love, you know, like pulp kind of hero stuff like that, like Zorro and Flash Gordon and things. There's a lot of potential for sets like that. I would love, you know, because now I have the Home Alone house, one of the sets that I think was always a dream for me, and it actually happened. And so I would really like a Griswold house for Christmas Vacation. Because, you know, if you're going to complete, you know, more holiday classic houses. Okay. What did I do wrong? Am I supposed to do this? Maybe? Yeah. trying to put it on the wrong end here. There we go. We have some unicorn horns or drills here that we're going to put. I see that these are cave stalagmites or stalactites. I don't know what the difference is. Pretty clever solution on making those. It's another one of those elements that I think every single Lego set, there's usually some sort of variation on how they're made. There's never like one consistent way. Kind of like trees or something in the world of Lego. There's always, every designer has their own kind of method that they'll change up or do something a little different for one set or the other. So this is interesting. I think that these are like these ball bearings connector pieces. And you're going to have these two grab into this. So this is definitely going to be like modularly hooked in to something. I assume that it's going to like hang down as part of the base that's going to hold up Gringotts. Because, you know, you have the stalagmites up there. Okay, tidying up the look a little bit and hiding some of the technical things. I think an Alf Lego set would be fun, by the way. You can have like the Tanner family, Willie. No, talk about a long shot, right? You know, there's some things that I think Mega Bloks has already done a great job covering that I would typically want to have Lego sets of, but then I think about like what Mega Bloks has done, you know, which is a Mattel, they're Mattel building blocks. And yeah, I'm actually pretty satisfied with the versions we've gotten. Like I would say different Ninja Turtles things, even though there's been Ninja Turtles Lego. But yeah, Mega Bloks has really thoroughly covered a lot of that. Looks like we're putting some like bracket pieces on to maybe plug this in somewhere and give it a little more security. Ah, okay. All right, so we are connecting this to the main part here. And it's already amazing me how tall that just the mine part is going to be. Like in my head, I had one thing, you know, thinking that it would be a certain height or whatever, but I think this is showing me that it's going to be a little bit bigger than what I had in mind, because that's a lot of levels. The crazy part is it feels like maybe we're at the halfway point for the mines underneath Gringotts, where the vaults are. I mean, that's a dramatic amount of architecture. It's just going to be dedicated to propping up Gringotts and adding that extra area. I remember when the piece count and the price and everything was leaking for this set, there was a lot of raised eyebrows as people were trying to figure out how on earth Gringotts could have as many pieces as was being described and be as expensive as they were describing it. But it turned out that there was the whole subterranean world below, and that's what really set that price off, and the piece count. And when I say, when I'm talking about the price being high, I'm not saying that it was a bad deal, because it's really not. As a matter of fact, it kind of bucks the trend of some of these sets being the price per part ratio being more than 10 cents. This one's actually less. So you actually get a ton of stuff for your money. And I think that was probably done very much on purpose, because people were not happy about that Hogwarts Express price. And I think that there was a pretty big consequence for Lego, because I think the sales were probably very poor. I doubt Lego has sold anything like they hoped that they would of that Hogwarts Express set, which is a shame, because it's a really nice looking set. But it just wasn't what people had in mind, I think. Expectations are a hard thing to defeat. You see here, this feels like it's exactly everything that everybody was thinking it would be with Gringotts. It's funny when you look at that page with the designers. I mean, there was 4 or 5 of them. So this was clearly a massive project from the entire Harry Potter team. Justin Ramsden, a lot of those guys that are very well known in the online fandom. So this wasn't just somebody's weekend project or something. This was, I think, purposely designed to be an end-all, be-all kind of event set. You see, those are the sets that appeal to me. The ones that are, I guess, a really special release. I remember, of course they've been experimenting a lot lately. Even more so than they usually would. Which is good, that's healthy, but there's going to be some growing pains, because I remember when all the leaks started happening that there was going to be a very expensive adults welcome Black Panther set. I remember a lot of people were excited about the possibilities of what it could be. Is it going to be the Black Panther's airship? Is it going to be Wakanda, this massive Wakanda diorama? Nope. It was a strange, bust of the Black Panther that no one, I think, expected, or even very few necessarily wanted it. So it was definitely a problem. I think that the Batcave shadow box that they've recently come out with, I think that's kind of thrown some people for a loop too. I don't know if people exactly knew what to do with that, because I think what people really wanted was this really detailed Batcave, with all these different levels and things happening. And instead, a huge amount of that piece count was pushed towards building a bat-shaped or bat opening-shaped shadow box. I think that really was a turnoff for a lot of people. I still think the set looks really good, and it's one of those things, you know, if I had the money, I would definitely have grabbed it by now. But at the same time, you know, I can't help but at least tangentially or sort of kind of agree with some of those criticisms. Like, I think the set looks really nice. But at the same time, I'm also going to say, well, it isn't exactly what I expected or had in mind. I think, like a lot of those people, I was probably expecting that it would be a huge, detailed Batcave with a bunch of different minifigures. And, you know, it sort of is those things. Sort of is. Just kind of goes in a weird direction with the whole shadow box concept, which I think isn't even a bad idea. I think it's actually pretty cool. It makes for a nice display. But Lego doesn't frequently have a whole lot of lighting in their sets. And I've heard people make the very astute observation that you close up that shadow box and yeah, it shadows all right because you can't see, and you know, it's very little of anything can you see. So I've actually seen some really impressive light kits that some folks have set up, several different kinds as a matter of fact, to where you can have that whole bat logo like lit up, and that's cool. But those light kits are expensive, and the question must be asked is, why on earth would you spend $400 on a set, or whatever it ended up being, 300 some, and then turn around and then you get to buy this very high priced light set that then you have to rig up into it. I know there's plenty of people that they always, you know, light their sets or whatever, but can't help but feel a little iffy about having to then turn around and spend my money on that. That would be a really hard pill to swallow. I don't think I could do it. More stalagmites, stalactites, whatevers being added. There's actually not many parts to go on this. This bag, it turned out, was kind of a small one. I think this one mostly just had big pieces in it. So you know how it is with bags like that, where it's filled with like massive architectural pieces. They tend to dissipate very quickly. You burn through those like no problem because you're mostly just placing giant blocks. Which is probably why this is wrapped up so fast on this particular one. And once again, putting the covers, and once again, putting the little modular ball bearing piece that snaps in on both sides. So this will be able to hang the other way, I suppose. It'll connect to whatever support rig that they have to hold up Gringotts. Oops. I like this color so much. Kind of a minty green, turquoise. I've noticed that in the Lego collecting community is like Like any color that leans toward turquoise, always in high demand. People always want those colors. It's just one of those things. There we go. And again, just like the last time, I'm going to turn this over and put a little, what I can only assume is like a mounting piece right here. Will allow us to connect it to whatever we need to. And just like last time, we'll take the main assembly here and connect. Oops. There we are. So it's starting to be rather massive here, all things considered. Ah, here we go. I was wondering why that looks so uneven. Start adding this giant gray support beam to kind of shore everything up now. A little bit more support. Good, good, good. It's funny, if I didn't know any better, I would think I was building like a Trade Federation dropship from Star Wars Episode 1. This thing definitely has that sort of shape to it. I can almost hear the Trade Federation theme. There we go. All right. And so it looks like we're just kind of finishing out some of these levels here. It's amazing how quickly such a massive structure like this has come together. Once again, just cleaning up the exterior a little bit, making it a little more uniform. Adding some toppers here. And adding a piece to the side, which I don't know what it is yet. That's all right. It's the mystery. Makes it more fun. A bit more cleanup right here. Right. It turned out these are just support pieces so that we can stick on rock facings. These rocks right here. That one goes there and one up there. So it turned out those weren't going to be visible anyway. All right. Really does look like a spaceship. Like completely. we have another rock facing part. All right, so that leaves us with bag number 4, but I think that this is probably a terrific point to kind of just call it quits for the night. It is getting late. You can already see that this thing is going to be pretty massive once it's actually, you know, up and about the way it's supposed to be here. So that will be interesting once we have it together. It's already feeling very weighty just with 4 bags in, for sure. That is a chunk of Lego right there. All right, well, I've definitely had fun building these first 3 bags. Can't wait to see where this build takes us, what kinds of surprises and things we have in store. And of course, be sure to check back with me, hopefully tomorrow, as we continue with more bags. So you all have a great night. God bless you and yours. And I will talk at you later. All right, take care.